The space station Unity hung like a gleaming silver star against the backdrop of swirling nebula clouds. Its rotating rings caught the light of the nearby sun, sending sparkles across its polished surface. Every 100 years, the Galactic Council chose this neutral location for their military showcase, where the greatest powers in known space displayed their might. Today marked a special occasion. For the first time in the summit's long history, humans had been invited. "I still think it was a mistake to invite them," grumbled Vex as he adjusted his formal military sash. The tall, thin alien had skin that shifted between shades of blue and gray. His 3 eyes blinked in sequence as he watched ships dock through the observation window. "The council voted," replied Tora, her red-scaled skin catching the light as she shrugged 4 massive shoulders. "Humans have had faster-than-light travel for 30 years now. Rules say any species with FTL capabilities gets an invitation." "Rules can be bent," Vex countered. "What do they have to show us anyway? Their ships are like children's toys compared to ours." Across the gleaming reception hall, 3 other military leaders engaged in similar conversations. Mech, with his insect-like features and clicking mandibles, was explaining to anyone who would listen how his people's ships could outmaneuver any human vessel. Grell, whose rock-like skin made him look like a walking statue, laughed loudly at the idea of humans building anything that could withstand a real attack. And Pax, whose delicate features and glowing eyes hinted at mental powers beyond normal comprehension, simply smiled in quiet amusement. The 5 of them represented the most powerful military forces in the galaxy, and all of them agreed on one thing: humans did not belong here. The main doors slid open with a soft hiss. Conversation halted as a single figure walked into the hall. The human was not what they expected. He wore a simple dark blue uniform with minimal decorations, and his face showed neither excitement nor nervousness. Just calm focus. "Commander Jack Reynolds," announced the station's AI, "representative of Earth and the Sol System Defense Force." Jack nodded politely to the room. "Thank you for the invitation. Earth is honored to join this historic summit." Vex approached first, towering over the human by at least 2 feet. "Commander Reynolds, I am Supreme Admiral Vex of the Azuri Empire. I must say, we were surprised when we heard humans would attend this year." "Good surprises make life interesting, Admiral," Jack replied with a small smile. Tora joined them, her heavy footsteps making the floor vibrate slightly. "Battlemaster Tora of the Krell Dominion. Your species has achieved much in a short time. Human. But this summit showcases the pinnacle of military achievement. I hope you won't feel too overwhelmed." "I appreciate your concern," Jack said, his expression remaining neutral. "I'm here to learn as much as to share." One by one, the other alien leaders introduced themselves, each greeting containing a thinly veiled suggestion that humans were out of their league. Chief Strategist Mech of the Hive Collective, War General Grell of the Stone Confederation, Thought Admiral Pax of the Lumina Concord. Jack greeted each with the same quiet respect, neither boasting nor showing any sign of intimidation. The station's AI chimed again. "All representatives have arrived. Please proceed to the presentation chamber for the opening ceremony." The grand hall had been prepared for the showcase. A massive holographic display dominated the center, currently showing the Unity station with hundreds of ships surrounding it. The alien leaders took their seats at the raised platform, with Jack directed to a smaller chair off to the side. The council mediator, a tall being with silvery skin and no visible face, floated to the center stage. "Welcome to the Centennial Military Showcase." Its voice resonated without seeming to come from any specific location. For 100,000 years, this gathering has maintained peace through the balance of power. Today we welcome our newest, spacefaring neighbors, the humans of Earth. There was polite applause, though Jack noticed several delegations barely participated. "We will begin with presentations from our established powers, followed by our new guests. Admiral Vex, you may begin." Vex stood proudly, activating a control on his wrist. The hologram shifted to show a sleek, dark vessel that seemed to fade in and out of visibility. "The Shadow Strike," he announced, the pride of the Azuri fleet. Its adaptive camouflage can render it completely invisible to all known detection systems. It can enter an enemy system, deploy devastating weapons, and leave without ever being detected. The crowd murmured appreciatively as the hologram showed, the ship demonstrating its cloaking abilities. Our engineers have worked for 2 centuries to perfect this technology, Vex continued, glancing at Jack. The ultimate predator needs no armor when it cannot be seen. Jack watched attentively, occasionally making small notes on a simple pad. Tora went next, displaying a massive dreadnought that dwarfed Vex's ship. The World Breaker, she growled, with pride. The largest battleship ever constructed by the Krell. Its main cannon can crack a planet's crust from orbit. No fleet has ever stood against it and survived. The hologram showed a demonstration where the massive ship fired at an uninhabited moon, breaking it into large chunks. The audience gasped. One by one, the alien commanders presented their vessels. Mech's swarm cloud released thousands of drone fighters that moved in perfect coordination. Grell's Starshield demonstrated shields that repelled even the most powerful weapons in simulated attacks. Pax's Mindweaver showed how it could project fear into enemy crews, causing ships to surrender without firing a shot. After each presentation, eyes turned to Jack, watching for signs of intimidation or awe. He remained attentive, but calm, taking notes and occasionally nodding in appreciation of particularly impressive features. When all 5 had finished, the mediator turned to Jack. Commander Reynolds, the Council now welcomes Earth's presentation. Vex smirked. Yes, human. Show us what your young species has managed to cobble together. The room grew quiet as Jack stood and approached the center platform. Instead of activating the hologram, he simply looked around the room. Thank you for your impressive demonstrations, he said. Earth's contribution to this showcase is still en route. It will arrive tomorrow morning. Murmurs of surprise and some mocking laughter spread through the audience. Your ship is late? Mech asked, mandibles clicking in what seemed like laughter. Not late, Jack replied. Right on schedule. Some things are worth waiting for. Tora leaned forward. Why not just show us holographic data like everyone else? Jack smiled slightly. We prefer real demonstrations over simulations. I hope you'll understand tomorrow. As the session adjourned, the 5 alien commanders gathered, watching Jack leave the chamber. Did you see his face? Vex said. No reaction to our ships. Either humans are too primitive to understand what they saw, or what? Asked Grell. Pax spoke softly, eyes still on the door where Jack had exited. Or they have something they think will impress us, which seems unlikely. We'll see tomorrow, Tora said with a dismissive wave of her hand. Though I suspect we'll all be very underwhelmed. None of them noticed the small smile on Jack's face as he walked down the corridor, or the quiet message he sent from his wrist device. Stage set. Bring her in. 5 aliens boasted about their battleships until they witnessed ours Part 2. The boasts, the evening reception aboard Space Station Unity, glittered with the light of 1,000 stars. Representatives from every corner of the galaxy mingled in the Grand Observation Dome, their diverse forms creating a living tapestry against the backdrop of space. Floating servers carried drinks of every color while diplomats and military officers discussed the day's presentations. Jack Reynolds stood alone by the curved viewport, watching the alien ships that surrounded the station. Each vessel was positioned, to be clearly visible, a floating testament to their creator's pride. Admiring superior technology, human? Jack turned to find Vex approaching, 2 drinks in hand. The Azuri Admiral offered one to Jack, who accepted with a nod. I appreciate good engineering when I see it, Jack replied, taking a small sip. The liquid tasted like cinnamon and something he couldn't name. Your reaction to our presentations was interesting, Vex said, his 3 eyes blinking in sequence. Most newcomers are overwhelmed. Jack smiled. Earth has a saying, never show. Your card's too early in the game. Cards? Game? Vex's translator seemed confused. It means don't reveal your strengths until the right moment. Before Vex could respond, Tora's booming voice called out across the room. There he is! The human who keeps us waiting! The massive red-scaled alien commander pushed through the crowd, followed by the other 3 alien leaders. Why so mysterious about your ship, Commander? Tora asked, looming over Jack. Surely you could show us at least a diagram. Jack took another sip of his drink. I prefer to let actions speak louder than words. Another Earth saying. Mech's mandibles clicked rapidly, the insectoid alien's equivalent of a chuckle. Perhaps there is nothing to show. Perhaps this is just human... What is your word? Bluffing. That would be unwise, Jack replied, his voice calm but firm. Earth doesn't bluff about military matters. Grell, the stone-skinned commander, rumbled with laughter. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. Tell us, human, what could your species possibly create that would compare to what you saw today? You've had space travel for what, a century? We've been crossing the stars for thousands of years. Jack turned to face all 5 alien commanders. The room had grown quieter as others noticed the confrontation. You're right that we're newcomers to space, Jack admitted. But you're wrong. To think that means we're behind in all ways. Pax, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. The Lumina commander's glowing eyes studied Jack intently. You speak with unusual confidence for someone whose people have never attended this summit before. Experience isn't always measured in years, Jack replied. Sometimes it's measured in intensity. What does that mean? Tora demanded. Jack looked around at the 5 alien leaders. How many wars has your species fought in the last 500 years, Battlemaster Tora? The question seemed to surprise her. 3 major conflicts. All victories for the Krell Dominion. Jack nodded, then looked to each alien in turn, asking the same question. 2 wars of expansion, Vex answered. The Hive has fought 4 defensive wars, clicked Mech. 1 great war, 3 centuries ago, rumbled Grell. The Lumina avoid physical conflict when possible, Pax said softly. 1 defensive action in recent history. Jack nodded again. Earth's history includes over 15,000 recorded wars. Before we reached space, we fought over 300 major conflicts just in the last 500 years. Our most devastating war killed nearly 100 million people in 6 years. The alien commander stared at him in shocked silence. That's barbaric, Vex finally said. That's survival, Jack corrected. We learned to build better weapons because we had to. We perfected military technology because failure meant extinction. You're proud of this violent history? Pax asked, her glowing eyes dimming slightly. Not proud, Jack said, his expression serious. But we don't deny what it taught us. While your civilizations were enjoying peace among the stars, we were testing weapons against each other that could level cities in seconds. An uncomfortable silence fell over the group. Other guests had stopped their conversations to listen. Tora broke the tension with a forced laugh. Big talk from a small species. Tomorrow, we'll see if there's any truth to it. Indeed we will, Jack replied. The reception continued, but the 5 alien commanders kept their distance from Jack for the rest of the evening. They gathered instead at the far side of the dome, speaking in low voices. Do you believe what he said? Mech asked. 15,000 wars? Impossible, Grell rumbled. No species could survive that much conflict, unless they became very, very good at warfare, Vex pointed out. Tora shook her massive head. Talk is easy. Tomorrow we'll see this supposed human warship. I expect to be underwhelmed. I'm not so certain, Pax said quietly. I sense no deception. From him, only anticipation. Across the room, Jack caught fragments of their conversation with his enhanced hearing. The slight smile that touched his lips went unnoticed as he turned back to the viewport, his eyes finding a particular spot in the distant darkness of space. Morning came to Space Station Unity as its rotation brought the main habitation ring into the light of the system's sun. Jack stood in his quarters, straightening his uniform before a mirror. His communication device chimed softly. Reynolds here. Commander, this is Captain Lin. We're ready when you are. Perfect timing. Hold. Position just outside sensor range until I give the signal. Understood, sir. The crew is looking forward to the reveal. Jack smiled. So am I, Captain. Reynolds out. When Jack arrived at the presentation chamber, he found all 5 alien commanders already there, along with most of the summit attendees. The room buzzed with speculation about the human ship. Commander Reynolds, the mediator's voice echoed. The Council is eager to see Earth's contribution to this summit. Jack took his place at the center platform. Thank you, mediator. Earth is honored to present our vessel today. He activated his wrist device, and the large hologram display in the center of the room came to life. At first it showed only empty space near the station. Where is it? Someone called out. Jack tapped his device again. Captain Lin, you may bring her in now. The hologram shifted to show a different area of space. At first, nothing changed. Then, sensors picked up something entering the system. The display automatically adjusted to track the object. What is that? Vex asked, leaning forward. The object grew larger on the display as the station's sensors calculated its distance and size, then recalculated again. A murmur of disbelief spread through the crowd. That can't be right, Tora said, staring at the size readings. The sensors must be malfunctioning. The sensors are working perfectly, Jack replied calmly as the object drew closer. Its true form became visible. It was a ship, but unlike any the aliens had seen before. Dark, angular, and massive beyond comprehension. The station's holographic display struggled to fit the entire vessel in view. I present to you, Jack announced, the HSS Leviathan, a mid-sized vessel in Earth's deep space fleet. The room erupted in shocked exclamations. The 5 alien commanders stood frozen, staring at the impossible ship that made their prized vessels look like toys in comparison. Vex was the first to find his voice. Mid-sized? He asked weakly. Jack nodded. Yes, Admiral. We have smaller, and we have larger. The human allowed himself a small smile as the Leviathan continued its approach, casting a shadow across the assembled fleet of alien ships. The boasting had ended. Now the real demonstration would begin. 5 aliens boasted about their battleships until they witnessed ours Part 3. The revelation, the presentation chamber of Space Station Unity had fallen into stunned silence. On the massive holographic display, the HSS Leviathan continued its approach, each new detail of the human battleship becoming clearer as it neared. The ship was unlike anything the gathered aliens had ever seen. While their vessels followed the elegant curved designs preferred by most spacefaring races, the Leviathan was all hard angles and flat planes. Its dark hull seemed to swallow light rather than reflect it. Most shocking was its size. Initial readings suggested it was nearly 5 times larger than Tora's Worldbreaker, previously considered the largest warship in the galaxy. This is impossible, Vex finally said, breaking the silence. His blue-gray skin had paled considerably. No, species builds ships this size. The resources required, the engineering challenges, all solved, Jack replied calmly. The Leviathan was built inside Jupiter's orbit using materials harvested from the asteroid belt. It took our shipyards 3 years to complete. 3 years? Mech's mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation. The swarm cloud took 20 years to design and build, Jack nodded. We work quickly when necessary. Tora stepped closer to the hologram, her red scales gleaming as she studied the human ship with newfound respect. What are its weapons systems? Before Jack could answer, an alarm sounded throughout the station. The mediator floated forward, its silvery form rippling with concern. Unauthorized weapon activation detected, it announced. Multiple ships are powering up defensive systems. On secondary displays around the room, the gathered aliens could see their own vessels moving into defensive positions, shields activating and weapons coming online. Stand down, Grell ordered into his communication device. This is not an attack. The same is happening with my ships, Vex said, his 3 eyes blinking rapidly as he received updates. The automated defense protocols have activated. They've identified the human vessel as a potential planet-killer class threat. More alarms joined the first as the station itself began emergency procedures, blast doors sealed, and non-essential systems shut down. Station Unity is now at Defense Level 1, announced the station's AI. All non-military personnel please proceed to emergency shelters. Pax turned to Jack, her glowing eyes intense. Your ship has triggered every defense system in the sector. What exactly have you brought here? Jack remained remarkably calm amid the chaos. Exactly what I said. A mid-sized battleship. I apologize for the alarm. The Leviathan's passive signature must be stronger than we anticipated. He tapped his wrist device. Captain Lin, power down all offensive systems and broadcast peaceful intentions on all frequencies. The voice that replied was clear and professional. Already done, Commander. We're showing full transparency to the station and all vessels. No weapons hot, shields at minimum. Slowly, the alarms quieted. The 5 alien commanders huddled together, speaking in urgent tones as they communicated with their respective ships. Jack turned to the mediator. With your permission, I'd like to invite the 5 commanders aboard the Leviathan for a tour. It might help ease concerns. The mediator's featureless face gave no indication of emotion, but its voice sounded surprised. You would allow foreign, military leaders aboard your vessel? Of course, Jack said. This is a showcase after all, and Earth has nothing to hide. The 5 alien commanders exchanged looks of uncertainty. Finally, Vex stepped forward. I accept the invitation, he said. The others followed his lead, though Grell did so with visible reluctance. Excellent, Jack said. We'll take a shuttle from the station's main bay in 1 hour. The journey to the Leviathan took longer than expected. What had appeared close in the holographic display was actually much further away, another indication of the ship's true size. As their shuttle approached, the 5 alien commanders pressed against the viewports, unable to hide their awe. From this distance, the Leviathan blocked out the stars behind it, a dark mountain floating in space. By the void, whispered Tora. It's even bigger than the scan suggested. Our sensors had difficulty calculating its true dimensions, Jack explained. The hull material absorbs most scanning waves. The shuttle entered a massive bay that could have housed any of the aliens' flagship vessels, with room to spare. Inside, everything was orderly and efficient. Hundreds of smaller craft, fighters, bombers, and support ships were arranged in perfect rows. Crew members in dark uniforms moved with purpose, barely glancing at the arriving shuttle. When they disembarked, a woman in a captain's uniform was waiting. Welcome aboard the Leviathan, she said with a crisp salute. I'm Captain Lin. Commander Reynolds has arranged a complete tour of our vessel. How many crew members does this ship require? Asked Mech, watching the humans moving about the bay, the Combiu. Leviathan operates with a standard complement of 15,000 personnel, Captain Lin replied, though it can function with as few as 500 in emergency situations. 15,000? Grell rumbled in disbelief. The Star Shield requires only 2,000. Different design philosophies, Jack said with a slight smile. We believe in redundancy. The tour began with the ship's bridge, a massive command center with stations for hundreds of officers. Displays showed every aspect of the ship's operations, from engineering to weapons to navigation. Unlike the colorful holographic interfaces of alien vessels, the human controls were practical and straightforward. Your technology seems less advanced than I expected, Vex observed, studying a navigation console. We favor reliability over flash, Captain Lin replied. Every system has at least 3 backups. Nothing fails completely. As they moved deeper into the ship, the alien commanders saw crew quarters, medical facilities, and recreational areas, all suggesting the Leviathan was designed for long deployments. This ship could remain operational for years without resupply, Pax noted. 5 years is the standard deployment, Jack confirmed. Though we've never tested the full duration, the engineering section revealed massive fusion reactors that powered the vessel. Chief Engineer Park, a stocky man with calloused hands, explained the basics. 6 primary reactors, 12 secondaries, he said proudly. Enough power to run a small moon colony. But it was the weapons control center that finally silenced all doubts. Row after row of weapons officers monitored systems that made the aliens' most destructive technologies look primitive by comparison. Kinetic impact rails, Weapons Officer Rodriguez explained, pointing to one section. They accelerate projectiles to near light speed. No shield can stop them. Plasma lance batteries, she continued, indicating another area. They can cut through capital ships like butter. And what are those? Tora asked, pointing to the largest display, where officers monitored massive cylindrical objects. Rodriguez glanced at Jack, who nodded permission. Nova bombs, she said simply. Designed to replicate a small supernova when detonated. We carry 12. The silence that followed was profound. Each alien commander was thinking the same thing. Such weapons could destroy not just ships, but entire fleets. Entire worlds. Why? Pax finally asked, her glowing eyes dimmed with horror. Why build such weapons? Jack's expression grew serious. Because we learned early in our history that being unprepared for threats can mean extinction. We built the Leviathan and ships like it, not because we want war, but because we never want to face an enemy we cannot defeat. As they returned to the shuttle bay, the 5 alien commanders were subdued. Their earlier boastings seemed hollow now, their prized warships suddenly inadequate. There's one more thing you should know, Jack said as they prepared to return to the station. The Leviathan is one of 30 similar vessels in Earth's fleet. Vex's 3 eyes widened in shock. 30? Jack nodded. Humanity takes defense seriously, very seriously. As their shuttle departed the massive ship, the 5 commanders looked back at the Leviathan with new understanding. They had come to HFY, the summit, to showcase their military might, only to discover a species whose capacity for warfare exceeded anything they had imagined. The boasting had ended. In its place was something new, respect, tinged with fear. 5 aliens boasted about their battleships, until they witnessed ours Part 4, the demonstration. The 5 alien commanders returned to Space Station Unity in silence, each lost in their own thoughts about what they had witnessed aboard the human battleship. The shuttle docked smoothly, and as they exited into the station's main bay, they found a crowd waiting. Word of the Leviathan had spread quickly throughout the station. Well? Asked an eager Azuri officer as Vex emerged. Is it really as big as the sensors say? Bigger, Vex replied quietly. Much bigger. The commanders were quickly surrounded by officers from their respective fleets, all demanding details about the human vessel. Jack stood back, watching the animated conversations with a small smile. The mediator floated toward him, its silvery form reflecting the lights of the bay. Commander Reynolds, the Council requests a formal demonstration of your vessel's capabilities. Jack nodded. The Leviathan is prepared for a full demonstration. We'll need a suitable location away from the station. The outer system has a debris field from a destroyed moon, the mediator suggested. It would provide adequate targets without endangering any inhabited areas. Perfect, Jack agreed. We can begin in 2 hours. News of the upcoming demonstration spread quickly. The station's observation dome filled beyond capacity as representatives from every species gathered to watch. The 5 commanders stood at the front, their earlier confidence replaced by curious anticipation. Jack stood beside the holographic display controls, coordinating with Captain Lin. We're in position, Commander, Lin's voice reported. Targeting. Systems locked on the debris field, awaiting your command. Jack turned to the gathered audience. Today, the HSS Leviathan will demonstrate 5 key capabilities that represent the foundation of Earth's defense doctrine. He nodded to the 5 alien commanders. Each capability corresponds to the specialties your own vessels presented yesterday. We believe in learning from our galactic neighbors. Vex's eyes narrowed slightly. Had the humans somehow stolen their technology? Jack activated the display. The Leviathan appeared, positioned at the edge of a vast field of rocky debris, ranging from small asteroid-sized chunks to massive sections of what had once been a moon. First demonstration, stealth capabilities, Jack announced, looking directly at Vex. Admiral Vex's Shadow Strike impressed us with its adaptive camouflage. The Leviathan uses a different approach. On the display, the massive human battleship seemed to shimmer for a moment. Then, impossibly, it disappeared. Where did it go? Someone in the crowd asked. The Leviathan is now operating under full stealth protocols, Jack explained. It uses a multi-phase approach that combines light bending, technology, sensor dampening fields, and quantum phase shifting. Vex leaned forward, his three eyes scanning the display for any trace of the human ship. Our sensors can detect any cloaked vessel, he said, activating his own device to scan the area. Try to find us, Jack invited. After several minutes of increasingly frustrated attempts, Vex looked up. Nothing, he admitted. Not even a heat signature. Jack tapped his wrist device. Phase 1 complete, Captain. Proceed to Phase 2. The Leviathan reappeared suddenly, but in a completely different position than before. The ship didn't just cloak, Jack explained. It moved while undetectable. In combat, this allows us to reposition without enemy knowledge. Tora grunted in reluctant appreciation. Impressive, but stealth means little without firepower. Agreed, Jack said with a nod. Which brings us to our second demonstration, offensive capabilities. He gestured to the display. Battlemaster Tora's Worldbreaker showed impressive planet cracking. Weapons. The Leviathan will now demonstrate its primary offensive systems. The display zoomed in on the human ship as panels along its hull slid open, revealing row after row of weapon ports. Metal rails extended from some, while others glowed with contained energy. Target acquired, came Captain Lin's voice. Kinetic rail system engaged. A series of flashes erupted from the ship. On the display, several massive chunks of the debris field simply disappeared, transformed instantly into expanding clouds of dust. Those projectiles hit at 98% of light speed, Jack explained. The kinetic energy alone is enough to vaporize most materials instantly. Before the audience could react, the Leviathan shifted position. New weapon systems activated, sending beams of blinding energy into the debris field. Where they touched, moon fragments melted and then boiled away into nothingness. Plasma lance batteries, Jack continued, capable of cutting through any known hull material. Tora's massive form had gone still, her forearms crossed tightly across her chest as she watched her specialty being matched and exceeded. Third demonstration, Jack announced. Drone capabilities. Mech's mandibles clicked nervously as the human ship's massive bay doors opened. What emerged was beyond anything the insectoid commander had imagined. Not hundreds, but thousands of small craft poured from the Leviathan, each moving independently yet in perfect coordination with the others. Our autonomous combat drones are AI-controlled, Jack explained. Each operates with tactical independence but strategic coordination. The swarm of drones flowed like water through the debris field, navigating complex paths at incredible speeds. When they attacked, they did so with precision that left mechs speechless. The smallest fragments of the destroyed moon were targeted and eliminated with surgical accuracy. The Leviathan carries 10,000 combat drones, Jack added. This is approximately 20% of its full capacity. Mech's exoskeleton seemed to pale. The swarm cloud, his pride and joy, carried only 2,000 drones. Fourth demonstration. Defensive systems, Jack continued, nodding to Grell. General Grell's Starshield showed impressive defensive capabilities yesterday. The display split to show a different angle. The Leviathan recalled its drones and positioned itself before a particularly massive chunk of the destroyed moon, easily, the size of a small asteroid. Captain Lin will now demonstrate our multi-layer defense grid, Jack said. On the display, the rocky mass accelerated toward the human ship, pushed by hidden engines that had been placed earlier. Impact in 10 seconds, announced Captain Lin's voice. A shimmer appeared around the Leviathan as its shields activated. But unlike the solid-looking barriers of alien ships, these shields appeared in distinct layers, one after another. The asteroid slammed into the outermost shield and disintegrated, not into large chunks but into fine dust that harmlessly washed over the subsequent shield layers. Our defensive approach uses sequential fields, Jack explained. The outer shields break down incoming objects or energy weapons. Each subsequent, Layer handles a specific type of threat. Nothing has ever penetrated all 7 layers. Grell's rocky face was impossible to read, but his massive hands had clenched into fists. Finally, Jack said, turning to Pax. Our 5th demonstration. Psychological warfare countermeasures. Pax's glowing eyes widened. You cannot demonstrate that here, she protested. My ship is not even attempting to use its abilities. Precisely, Jack said with a slight smile. The Leviathan's psi-dampening field has been active since it entered the system. Had your Mindweaver attempted to use its psychic technology, your crew would have experienced discomfort. Pax took an involuntary step back. That's impossible. No species has developed effective counters to Lumina mental projection. Humanity has faced many challenges throughout our history, Jack replied, including ones that attacked our minds rather than our bodies. We adapted. The demonstration complete, Jack deactivated the display. The observation dome fell silent as the gathered representatives tried to process what they had seen. The 5 capabilities I've shown you today represent only a fraction of the Leviathan's full systems, Jack said. Earth came late to the stars, but we brought with us thousands of years of military innovation. He looked at each of the 5 commanders in turn. We didn't develop these technologies to threaten our neighbors. We developed them to ensure that humanity would never again face an existential threat without the means to defend itself. As the crowd began to disperse, discussing what they had witnessed in hushed, urgent tones, the 5 alien commanders gathered, together. This changes everything, Vex said quietly. If the humans have 30 ships of this capacity, then they could dominate the galaxy if they wished. Tora finished. Yet they haven't, Pax observed. They've kept to their own systems, developing these ships in secret. Mech's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. The question is, what do they want now? 5 aliens boasted about their battleships until they witnessed ours Part 5. The understanding, the final day of the Galactic Council's military summit began with an atmosphere of tension. The scheduled meetings and presentations continued, but one topic dominated every conversation: the human ship and what it meant for the balance of power in the galaxy. Jack Reynolds sat alone in the station's garden dome, enjoying a moment of quiet among the exotic plants gathered from 100 worlds. The artificial sunlight felt good on his face as he considered the events of the past few days. May I join you, Commander? Jack looked up to see Pax standing nearby, her glowing eyes dimmed to a gentle pulse. He gestured to the empty seat beside him. Of course, Admiral. The Lumina commander sat gracefully, her movements fluid and precise. For a moment, she simply observed the garden in silence. This is my favorite place on the station, she finally said. It reminds me that despite our differences, all life shares certain needs: light, water, a place to grow. Jack nodded. We're not so different when it comes down to it, aren't we? Pax turned to face him. Your ship, your weapons. They speak of a species unlike any we've encountered. Your capacity for warfare exceeds anything in known space. Our capacity for peace is just as great, Jack replied. We just never take it for granted. Before Pax could respond, her communication device chimed softly. The Council requests our presence, she said after checking it. All 5 commanders and you. Jack stood. Let's not keep them waiting. The Council chamber was smaller than the presentation hall, designed for private discussions rather than public displays. The mediator waited inside, along with the other 4 alien commanders. Thank you for coming, the mediator began once they were all seated. The events of this summit have raised concerns that must be addressed. Concerns? Jack asked, though he had anticipated this meeting. The human vessel represents a significant shift in the balance of power, the mediator continued. The Council must understand Earth's intentions. Jack looked around at the 5 alien commanders. All watched him with varying degrees of caution and curiosity. Earth's intentions are simple, he said. We wish to join the galactic community as equals, not conquerors. The Leviathan and our other ships exist for defense, not aggression. Defense against what? Vex asked, his three eyes blinking rapidly. No species in charted space has technology that could threaten your ships. Jack's expression grew serious. The galaxy is vast, Admiral Vex. Humanity learned early that it's wise to prepare for threats before they arrive, not after. You speak as if you expect war, Tora observed. We hope for peace but prepare for war, Jack replied. It's served us well. Grell leaned forward, his stone-like face impossible to read. The truth, human. What does Earth want from the Council? Jack took a moment before answering. When he did, his voice was calm, but firm. Earth wants what every civilization wants. Security. We built our ships because our history taught us that strength is respected and the strong are rarely attacked. Yet you've kept these ships hidden until now, Mech noted, mandibles clicking softly. Why reveal them at this summit? Because isolation is no longer in our interest, Jack explained. Humanity has reached a crossroads. We can continue developing, alone, or we can join with others. We chose the latter. The mediator's silvery form shimmered slightly. What exactly are you proposing, Commander Reynolds? Jack straightened in his chair. Earth proposes a new alliance. We offer our defensive capabilities to the Galactic Council, not as conquerors, but as protectors. The chamber fell silent as the implications of this offer sank in. You want to be the galaxy's defenders? Vex asked incredulously. We want to share what we've learned, Jack corrected. Earth has focused on military technology out of necessity. Your civilizations have advanced in other areas while enjoying centuries of relative peace. Together, we could be stronger than we are apart. Tora laughed, though without her earlier mockery. Your ships would be the foundation of this alliance. Initially, yes, Jack agreed. But we're offering more than ships. We're offering partnership. Pax's eyes glowed brighter as she considered this. A partnership where each contributes their strengths, your military technology combined with our advancements in other fields. Exactly, Jack said with a nod. Earth doesn't seek to rule. We seek to belong while doing what we do best, protecting our own. The five commanders exchanged glances. A silent communication seemed to pass between them. The Council will need to vote on such a proposal, the mediator reminded them. All member species must have a voice. Of course, Jack agreed. Earth is patient. 3 days later, the vote was held. Representatives from every Council species gathered in the Great Hall to decide whether to accept Earth's proposal. Jack waited outside, standing at the viewport as he had on the first day. The door slid open behind him. He turned to find all 5 alien commanders approaching. Commander Reynolds, Vex said formally. The Council has reached its decision. Jack straightened, preparing himself for either outcome. Earth is accepted as a full member of the Galactic Council, Vex continued. Your proposal for a defensive alliance has been approved with certain conditions. Jack let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. The conditions? Knowledge exchange, Mech explained, mandibles clicking excitedly. Your military technology for our advancements in medicine, energy, and exploration. Training programs, Tora added. Your officers will train with ours and ours with yours. Oversight committees, Grell rumbled, to ensure the alliance serves all equally. And cultural exchange, Pax finished, her eyes glowing warmly. To build understanding beyond military cooperation. Jack smiled. Earth accepts these conditions, then it is settled, the mediator announced, floating into the corridor to join them. The Galactic Defense Alliance is formed, with Earth as a founding member. As they walked together toward the Great Hall where the other representatives waited, Vex moved beside Jack. I must ask, Commander, the Azuri Admiral said quietly. Were you confident the Council would accept? Jack smiled slightly. I was hopeful. Humanity has learned that the best way to avoid war is to make the cost too high for potential enemies. The same principle applies here. The alliance benefits everyone. Because your ships will protect Council space, Vex observed, and because your civilizations will help humanity grow beyond warfare, Jack countered. We've spent millennia perfecting the art of battle. Now we can learn the art of lasting peace. As they entered the Great Hall, the gathered representatives rose in acknowledgement. The 5 alien commanders who had once boasted of their battleships now stood alongside the human whose ship had humbled them all, yet there was no resentment in their posture, no bitterness in their eyes. Instead, there was something new: respect, acceptance, and perhaps even a touch of gratitude. The galaxy was changing. The species that had come late to the stars had brought with them something unexpected, not just unmatched weapons, but a perspective forged in fire and tempered by hard-won wisdom. That evening, as the Leviathan prepared to depart for Earth, with news of the Alliance, Jack stood once more in Unity's observation dome. The 5 commanders joined him, watching as their own vessels moved into formation around the human battleship, not in challenge, but in escort. To think, Tora said with a rumbling laugh, we once boasted about our ships. Your ships are still impressive, Jack assured her. They're simply different. Different, Pax repeated thoughtfully. Perhaps that is what makes this alliance valuable. Not sameness, but difference, each contributing what others cannot. As they watched their ships move together through space, the 5 alien commanders and the humans stood not as rivals but as allies. The boasting was over. Understanding had taken its place. And somewhere in the vast darkness beyond, whatever unknown threats might exist would soon learn that the galaxy was now defended by both the wisdom of ancient civilizations and the fierce determination of its newest member. Humanity had arrived among the stars, not as conquerors, not as subjects, but as guardians.